Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Malone Director Service Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies. As always, I'm joined here with Huskies head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, how are we doing this week?
I'm great this week.
Coming off of a big win, 22-20 victory over Unaka. We'll just hop right into it. Talk about how excited you were after the win and how big of a night it was Friday night here for the North Greene community.
We had some people coming up saying it's one of the bigger wins that we've had, at least the biggest one since I've been here. A team that has been very good for the past couple years. They got a couple players back on Friday, so they're a very formidable opponent this past week. So come out with a win against a good opponent and to put us in our region standings and clinch a playoff berth and puts us in the driver's seat for third is a pretty big deal.
That's what I was going to mention next is not only did you get a win over Unaka, which had been hard to do in previous years, but you clinched a playoff berth for the third year in a row in your third year here at the program. Not only that, but you essentially avoid fourth place and jump into third place with the win over Unaka. Talk about how important that is to finish or to put yourself in the third spot within the standings and to climb out of that bottom spot.
To not have to play the one seed from the other region is huge just because it gives you a chance. Because if you're having to go play the one, they're a one for a reason. Mm-hmm. Typically the 2s, 3s, and 4s in any region, they're pretty comparable. So you can, it gives you a chance at that point, and it truly is once you get to the playoffs, it's a new season. Everybody's 0-0, and it really is who's on a streak at that point, who's playing well at that point. And if we can reel off a couple good games right now, go into the playoffs with some confidence, that could really help us.
And here at the front end, we'll go ahead and talk about the conference a little bit more. With the win over Unaka, like we said, you essentially put yourself in third place. I don't think there's any way that you could slip to fourth, is there?
There is one way.
If they beat Cloudland and you lose to Cosby,
and we lose to Cosby, is the only way we go to fourth. Any other scenario, we're third.
Even if both teams win,
yes,
you beating Cosby and they beating Cloudland, you would essentially have the same record, but you would have the head-to-head win.
Yes.
So you would get third place in that. So there is one scenario, but you're in the driver's seat. Yep. All you got to do is win out in the conference, and you got one game left against Cosby. Don't have to talk about it just yet. We'll talk about it next week as you've got Happy Valley coming in this week for senior night. But let's talk about that win over Unaka a little bit more. Struggled in the first half, went into halftime scoreless, came out and scored, I think, 2 touchdowns within 2 minutes of the second half off of a punt block and an interception that got returned down to the 2-yard line that Yeshua ran in from 2 yards out. Talk about what kind of adjustments you made in the locker room or what changed going back out onto the field in the second half.
Well, that's the funny part. We didn't make adjustments. So we just went in and challenged our kids, looked them in the eye and said, guys, this is about us and how we execute. They're not doing anything special. We just need to go out and go execute. Now, credit to them, they came up with some pretty creative stuff. They had a 2-quarterback system. Mm-hmm. Hand the ball off to repass, and he'd throw it to McKinney out the quarterback running.
Quarterback, yeah.
Out in the flat. I'm like, how do you cover that? So, but we covered it pretty well, and that's a good part about our defense. It's very simple, so you can cover about anything that's thrown at you. And for the most part, they get to the same spots of the field. They've got a flat route, an intermediate route, and a deep route. But they're just disguising it in a lot of different ways to get to the same spots on the field. So our kids did a good job of adjusting to it. They gave up some chunk plays, but a lot of that had to do with the Unaka kids just did a good job making plays. They have very good receivers. The quarterback threw the ball well. And Coach Bennett is a really good quarterback coach. So he always has that was their backup quarterback playing. So, and he looks like he's been playing quarterback his entire life. So credit to them offensively being well coached there, and they played really hard on defense. So we had a lot to overcome there. But once our defense settled down and our defensive line started stepping up and doing their job, we controlled the line of scrimmage, and that's when there towards the end of the game, when your senior defensive lineman is stepping up, making plays all over the place, that's when you've got the upper hand. And there for a while, sometimes it's confusing for people watching, but like in my head towards the end of the game, I was playing offense to play defense. So because I knew that our defense was going to shut them down. So where we're just trying to chew up clock, we're trying to punt the ball away, so that way our defense can go out and go make some plays. But a lot of that has to go down with, and we cannot talk about that game without mentioning Colton Robbins.
Oh yeah, that was my next topic.
That may be the best game. I don't know the history of North Greene football, but it has to be up there in terms of best game in the North Greene uniform of all time. It has to be up there somewhere. So, but regardless, it's the best game I've seen of anybody I've ever coached in a single game. We knew we could have some pressure on punt, so we knew we were going after the kick, and I knew Colton would be a good option to go block the kick, just the way schematically. And he was able to get two of them, so he had two blocked kicks. He returned one of them for a touchdown. I think I look back, he had 4 tackles, 5 assisted tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a recovered fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, and he had 6 receptions for 52 yards.
2-point conversion.
And 2-point conversion. And he had a touchdown called back.
Yep.
So that's a big-time game.
That is a big-time game.
So,
all of those stats probably didn't make it in Mark's article after the game, but I'm glad that we got those out there because you might be hard-pressed to find a better game in a North Greene uniform.
Shoot, I've been trying to email everybody. It's like, hey, you got a player of the week because this kid deserves it.
So we've actually got Colton here with us right now. Colton, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Big win over Unaka Friday night. Credit to you for making a lot of those plays. He read through your stat line just a minute ago. I can't remember all of it because there were too many numbers in there to remember, from the tackles, the sacks, the forced fumbles, the punt blocks, and everything. Talk about your game and talk about what mindset you were in to be able to have those big plays.
Well, I didn't really start off the game that great. The first half it went a little slow for us, but we came out the second half. He said that defense was going to make a difference that game, and the defense did make a difference that game in the second half. And most of the credit goes to the team because I wouldn't have made the plays if the quarterback wouldn't have been forced into my side by another player. And the block punt, he kind of scooted over to my side when he punted it. That helped me block it. And
Okay.
just credit to the team.
I was going to ask about those 2 punt blocks because he talked about how in their schematics that he knew that if you could put pressure on the punter that you had a good chance of blocking it. And with your speed, he put you in that spot. What did you see on those certain plays that allowed you to get there in time? I know you said the punter kind of moved into your area, but were you unblocked on both of those, or did you see a gap that you were able to run through?
Well, he put me on the outside, and them having a tight punt formation, it allowed me to have free reign. And then the gunner or the personal protector in the backfield, he didn't really step out, and it allowed me to go around the edge.
Talk about that fumble recovery you had in the end zone also. I don't think anybody here at North Greene knew that it was you on top of the football until you raised it above your head whenever you got it, because it was such a pile up down there in the end zone. But you were able to be the one that jumped on it to get your second touchdown of the night. Talk about how big of a moment that was for you to be able to get that touchdown.
It felt amazing. Yeah. The ball was going everywhere, and I jumped on it once, and it went flying. And then another kid jumped on it and went flying again, and I finally jumped on it at the end, and everybody just seemed to pile up, but it felt incredible.
I think standing beside the pylon on that 2-point conversion play, I don't know if I've ever had the intuition to tell me that a play is going to happen more than that play right there. Yeah. Because I saw the separation that cornerback gave you, and I said, if he doesn't throw a slant to Colton right here, then he must have another play in his mind, because it was almost a given that you could just run 2 yards and run straight in, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
Easy catch for you on that 2-point play. Talk about your night on defense also, because he mentioned your stat line, as I said, and you were everywhere. You had the punt blocks, you had the fumble recovery, you had the strip fumble, you had the tackles, you had the hurries, the tackles for loss. Talk about your night on defense and what went right for you.
Like I said, it didn't really start till the second half, but second half rolled around and it just started rolling, I guess. I just put in all the effort I could and made plays, I guess.
How special is it for you that you get to go to the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row now?
Pretty special, really special.
A big win over Unaka. You've got senior night coming up now against Happy Valley. How special of a night will that be coming up for you?
It's going to be bittersweet, but I'm excited, and they moved it Thursday, and I think it'll be a fun game.
You had a touchdown called back too. I mean, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
We looked back on the replay. We talked about it with an official up top, and you could go either way on that play. I thought it was clean. Had that touchdown stripped away from you. Another great play that you had in that game that you can kind of chalk up there. But I think that's all I've got for you. Congratulations on making it to the playoffs for the third straight year. Got senior night coming up on Thursday night this week. A little weird that it's on Thursday night, but trying to stay dry as you got incoming weather on Friday. But appreciate you for sitting down with me, and we'll go ahead and go back to the interview with Coach Tilson.
And then I go back and watch film, and we're evaluate film. I knew Colton had a great game, and then our freshman linebacker Leon Johnson, his stats were off the charts. His tackles for loss, he forced the fumble in the end zone that Colton recovered. He had I think 3.5 tackles for loss. He had two sacks, maybe 1.5 sacks because he shared a sack with Colton. But he was all over the place, and he played really well Friday night. And then another player defensively, kind of watching it, didn't think he had his best game, but had a really good game, was Yeshua Vault at linebacker. And then I go back and watch his productivity, and he was all over the place too. Had a couple pass breakups, had a lot of quarterback pressures, and just was around the ball at all times. He didn't get the tackles for loss and stuff like that, but he was all over the place and made some really big plays. And then the big change defensively, we're starting to get some kids back from injury, and big one that stepped in was Brandon Weems. So he wasn't starting for us Friday because he'd been coming off of an injury, and then once he went in, he played like a man with his hair on fire. Once he went in, they were done moving the ball. He was all over the place, and
I think he broke up that 2-point conversion.
Yes, he broke up the 2-point conversion. He actually batted the ball down on 3rd and 10 on their last drive to force them into a 4th down. He shut down the run game to his side. So he played with his hair on fire, and it's just funny because we were joking around with him because he was hurt all week, having to go doctor, wasn't cleared, and then all of a sudden he's able to play. We're like, okay, we might have to ease him into it. And then on Friday I was like, dude, you may never practice again. So, but I was being facetious, but he played extremely well.
A big interception by Thomas Darnell also. I thought he was good from the vantage point that I was at, but he did end up getting stopped at the 2-yard line. I thought he was gone as soon as he called it and he started running. But he got stopped short, set up Yeshua Vault for that touchdown. I think that tied the game, 14-14,
yes,
early into the second half right there. And that was a big momentum changer because for him, he couldn't get much done on offense early on in the first half, but to have that interception in the second half, that had to have boosted his confidence in playing quarterback also in the second half.
Well, that's a big thing. He's made leaps and bounds as a football player. Of course, he started all year as a freshman at corner, and he's played most of the year at corner. So we knew this had to be a big game for him defensively. And then it's hard to play both ways when you're playing quarterback because sometimes we really need to talk to him on the sideline in between series, but he's out there playing defense, and he really played well defensively. We knew we needed that this week, so we were willing to sacrifice some of the stuff offensively so he'd go out and go make plays like he did because he batted a couple balls down and tackled a couple screens for us, and then took that interception to the 2-yard line, and that was big. And then the 2-point conversion was huge after the missed extra point on the first one. We needed that. I mean, it came down to 2 points, so it came down to extra points. And then play that would go unnoticed is him scrambling on the second 2-point conversion and him diving into the end zone.
Yes.
That put us up to 22 at that point, and if we don't have that, then we're playing with our backs against the wall. So
potentially overtime also.
Yeah, that's a huge play on his part. So that's where every single one of those plays, we talked about it beforehand. It kind of compares back to the Jellicoe game where we're on the other end of giving up 2 consecutive plays, and then we're making those plays. And that kind of what we tell our kids, football game comes down to about 5 or 6 plays. But you never know when those plays are. And so you have to be prepared and have to be ready to execute on those plays. So I definitely was pleased we come out on top with that, especially in a tight contested game. We've had a lot of games go back and forth this way, and we've won a couple of them really tight games, which is good for our program overall. So we're winning close football games now.
Speaking of those plays, you never know when they're going to happen. That long pass that they had in the fourth quarter, that scared me a little bit.
Yeah, that was a good play design from there. They're lined up in trips, and they cross our front side safety's face to the opposite side. We were concerned about the quarterback run game there towards the because that's about the only thing they really had. And so we cheated our safety up into the box, and he had backed out on it, and he tried to time up the play and just kind of mistimed it. So we were in position, just gave it up, and then at that point, the good thing is after that happened, I kind of knew they were going to score. So it's like, okay, we need to get ready for the 2-point conversion because it's going to come down to the 2-point conversion. So and then the same kid that gave up the play made the big play on the 2-point conversion. So he came back and made a big play. So, hey.
I could tell it was one of your more excited wins that you had because as soon as you stopped them on 4th down in the fourth quarter, you threw both hands up and screamed to victory.
Oh, yeah.
Because the boys were running off the field, and you realized I think there was a flag on the field, but you
I
realized,
already knew what the flag was.
Yeah, you realized what it was, and you just exclaimed. You said victory, and all the boys ran over excited too. It was a fun scene to see down there on the field.
It was a big one, and those kids deserve it because when as a program you've been kicked around for such a long time, and then you're starting to gain some respect as a program. I mean, we're getting told from opponents all the time about that this is the best North Greene's looked in a long time, and that has a lot of credit to these kids because I know from a lot of years of coaching is it requires good players and great players to win football games, and we have that now.
All right, so you're locked into the playoffs, 3rd straight year in a row with the win over Unaka. Got a game against Happy Valley coming up now, a very much improved Happy Valley team that we've seen over the past few weeks. It'll be senior night on the Tundra also. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We'll go ahead and get a break in first, and we'll be right back in just a minute.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Pizza, pancakes, or donuts, the Davy Crockett Travel Center in Baileyton has the cure for all your cravings. While you're there, shop our general store for souvenirs, gifts, and cellular accessories. In a hurry, grab a cold drink and a hot dog to go. Check us out on Facebook and come to Baileyton.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Malone Trekker Service Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Husky football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson. So you've got Happy Valley coming up on senior night here on the Tundra. It'll be the last time some of these seniors get to play on the Tundra. Don't have a home field advantage in the playoffs, so this will be the final time they play on their home field. What do you think the night's going to be like going into it, and how do you prepare for this Happy Valley team?
Well, Happy Valley's much improved. They've been struggling the past couple of years, and they struggled early on this year, and they've been searching for an identity, and they found it. Sowers is one of the better backs I've seen this year. He's a big old blustering fullback. And they've been putting up some points. Past few opponents have been like 38-40, and then they go down and beat South Greene in overtime. And that to me was a statement game for them. And then they came last week and throttled Cumberland Gap. Played well defensively and on special teams, but the big thing for them is they found their identity, and they go into overtime, 10 yards to go in to beat South Greene, and it's like watching the game. I knew exactly what they were going to run. Everybody in the stadium knew what they were going to run. It didn't matter. They took one play and went in, and so we know what we have to do in order to do that, and it's going to be a tough challenge, but we're going to challenge our kids to go up to the task, because this will be our seniors for Colton, for Grayson Collins, for Nick Mitchell, Caleb Fields. This will be the last time they get to step foot on this field and go out and compete, so we'll leave it out there. This is not like a game where we're so far out of the woods that we can't go compete with them. Mm-hmm. That's not what this game is. They found their identity. They're a good football team, but so are we. So we have to go out and go compete. And we don't have to play perfect, but we have to play well to stop their offense. And then they're very aggressive defensively, but with aggressive defenses, you make one person miss, and mm-hmm. it's wide open. But we have to do well offensively. But big thing is we are almost back to full strength in terms of player availability. Now, can't necessarily say stuff on air, but
correct.
We're about back to full strength now, so that'll be huge, especially up front, to be able to kind of move the ball. And so some guys have stepped into some spots up front. Adam Bernard especially has been a backup for us all year. He stepped in on Friday night, played really well in terms of what we needed, and so I commend him for that. So he'll be in the mix, but having some of our guys back will definitely help us in the run game for Friday night. So we're excited about this opportunity, but we have to be prepared.
So the game's been moved to Thursday now.
Yes.
Same time, 7:30.
Yes.
Senior night festivities around 7 o'clock, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So the game's been moved to Thursday now. With a short week, does that kind of change your preparation any?
Yes and no. It kind of flips around practices what you want, in terms of like Tuesday will be now the intense day, full padded day, and then you'll kind of lighten up a little bit the day before game. But you kind of got to combine days because you still need to. There's a lot of at this point in the year, most of it's informational. Mm-hmm. Make sure the kids know what they're going to see, how to prepare. Because at this point, you can fine tune some mechanics and fine tune some fundamentals, but they are what they are at this point. And then you kind of figure out, okay, what do we need to fix, and then we go fix it, and then we get into the schematics and kind of the mental game of it, because that's where most of football's won anyway, is in the mental part of being where you're supposed to be.
Usually I ask you what you think they're going to do on offense. We already talked about it. You know what they're going to do on offense. They're going to hand it off to Sowers. They're going to let him work. They're going to do that for probably 90% of their snaps, because that's what they started after week 3. When they lost to Hampton, they said, hey, let's just take Hampton's offensive playbook, let's put it in our offensive playbook, and let's start running the same exact formations. And it's worked for them. Yep. But what do you think that you're going to see on defense that they're going to throw at you?
They're kind of multiple defense. They've been based out of a 3-4 for a long time, and they bring a lot of pressure. A couple games this year, they've been in a 4-2-5. They've had some bear looks, so they've kind of been all over the place. But their whole mentality is aggressive. So they like to bring people in line of scrimmage, and they bank a lot of their defensive success in their 5 guys in the box. So because their skill guys can handle about anybody that's thrown at them, because they have some very good secondary guys, but they bank on those 5 guys in the box, and they get after it.
As always, too, last question of every interview, your favorite question. Oh, yeah. You got 3 keys to success that you need to carry out in order to get a win against Happy Valley. What are they this week? I
got to have a relentless effort with this run game. We're going to have to tackle well, and at some point, playmakers got to make plays.
Hey, it happened last week, and look what happened. Yep. You had maybe 4 or 5 key plays last week where the playmakers made the plays, and that was the difference in the ball game right there. Came out with a 22-20 win over Unaka, clinched a playoff spot for the 3rd year in a row. In your 3rd year with the program, you've got Happy Valley this week on senior night on Thursday night. no longer Friday night, so that game will be Thursday night here on the Tundra at 7:30. Senior night festivities starting at 7. Coach, that's about all I've got for you this week. Hope for a good week of practice. Try to stay dry Thursday night because that's what you're doing to avoid getting wet on Friday night and getting those jerseys wet.
I don't want to melt on the sidelines.
I wouldn't want to either. But that's all we've got this week. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Malone's Record Service Eric Tilson Show. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.